Okay, America, we welcome into Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Shaq Allen Mercandani Studios. We appreciate everybody for listening, for watching, and got a lot to talk about. We've got obviously got all of our things to do, which we love. Our sponsors, they are so great to us. We also have a couple of great guests. Wayne Hogan is going to join us from Florida Rising Stars, and they've got a great raffle going on. I know that you guys may have heard him on other platforms, but I'll bring it out of Wayne like nobody ever does because Wayne and I go way back. We spent a lot of time together when I covered Florida State football. And don't be mad, Gator fans. I covered Florida State. I covered Georgia too. How about that? So, I covered everything. I've been around. And Josh Kendall from The Athletic, who had a great conversation with Greg Sankey last week, and we'll talk about that and where we see this all going with the playoff possibilities, and there's a lot out there. One story that I just saw today that's really interesting, because we've talked about this, and everybody said basically every conference, I think everyone, if not, they'll eventually say it, that if you can't field a team because of COVID, again, it would be a combination of injuries and COVID most of the time. But if you can't field a team because of COVID, not only will you forfeit, but according to the SEC, they're about to announce this. You're going to get a financial penalty as well. And what it would be is going to be interesting. Would you pay the cost that team lost by not hosting you, or would you pay the cost of a prorated amount based on the CBS and SEC with ESPN costs that you have? I mean, that's going to be interesting. And that's, again, they're kind of turning the screws and going, you better get vaccinated. I saw where Tennessee's still not there. I've seen some other teams that aren't even at the level where you don't have to get tested. I know Florida is over it. I think they're over 90% now, which is good. But it's funny, you go 90%. Why? What about the 7 guys that haven't gotten tested or haven't gotten vaccinated? Well, that's going on at all the sports at Florida and everywhere. I mean, I'm not trying to single Florida out. In fact, I think Florida's probably right up there with everybody. I know, for example, volleyball has a couple of players, and that is an interesting dilemma for any coach, not just at Florida, but everywhere, where you go, okay, you're not going to get vaccinated. A lot of times, by the way, it's not the player, it's the parents. And, for whatever reason. I mean, there are different reasons for not wanting to get vaccinated. I don't agree with any of them, but it doesn't matter. So what do you do with that player? Do you say, we're not going to make the trip? We're not, when we go to USF, Tampa, it's a bus ride. What are we going to have, a separate bus just for you two guys that won't get it done? I don't know where we're going to go. This continues to be a huge story, even though I know a lot of people don't want it to be. I know that Dan Mullen had his press conference today. Not a whole lot came out of it. We'll talk about a little bit about it, but Scott Strickland did a story. I think it was with Edgar Thompson the other day, the Orlando Sentinel. And they're still planning to go full forward and 100% capacity. And they have ticket sales are ahead of 2 years ago, which is interesting because remember, they were coming off a huge bowl win over Michigan and had a great home schedule, including Auburn. And so they sold a lot of season tickets. So that tells me I may be way off on my discussion of Friday, and the discussion that Jeff Cardozo and I have had a couple times about whether or not what kind of crowd it'll be for the opening game. Now, just because you bought season tickets doesn't mean you're going to the first game. I've said this a million times. Look, if I'm not going to the first game, my wife is, but I'm not going. But it has nothing to do with COVID. Well, it may have a little to do. It's more because Georgia is playing Clemson at the exact same time. I can put the Gator game on this TV, the Georgia-Clemson game on this TV, and I'm in heaven. And I'm, 4 steps from the bathroom, my house. Some houses it's 13. but in my house it's 4. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes and what we end up with for the opening game. Again, we're not getting any better in terms of what's going on out there in the real world in terms of people who have not been vaccinated. And in terms of, although I think the numbers are going up, but unfortunately are still going up in terms of the number of positive cases. So anyway, I don't want to get political, and I'm not going to get political. I'm a big believer that you should get vaccinated. It's kind of interesting. There's something I know that I'm not ready to tell you guys yet about somebody who's not a player, somebody else who's not going to get vaccinated, refuses, and won't be doing his job this year. Anyway, I'll tell you that later. I'm going to save that. I'll tell Evan off the air. Okay, so they did have a scrimmage this weekend, and apparently they went with the plan of running a little bit more and not throwing as much. The kind of the plan, and it makes sense. The first scrimmage you have, you're going to throw the ball a lot. You want to see where the timing is. But this scrimmage, they were trying to say, hey, can we run the ball? And apparently, DeMarcus Bowman had a huge scrimmage for the second straight scrimmage, and I wonder if I think here's what I know, and here's what I know that I don't know, which I always like to talk about. I know what I don't know. I know what I've been told doesn't mean it's true, because none of us really know unless we're able to actually watch it. You know, I've told this story before. I remember when Grossman and Berlin were dueling for the job at Florida, and I was like, Spurrier, come on. It's Grossman, man. What are you talking about? And 2 days later, he picked Grossman to be the starter, and he was by far the better college quarterback, and certainly by far the better NFL quarterback. Went all the way to a Super Bowl. But that said, if you when you look at what we think we know and what we don't, whether we know it or not, doesn't matter. It's that Anthony Richardson again had, and I know Dan talked about him again today, had a great. The bottom line is Florida's going to play those first 2 games to find out what these quarterbacks are capable of, and can they run the ball, and can they run the ball against inferior opponents? Because I'm sorry, down there in Tampa, South Florida's an inferior opponent. I'm sorry, down there in Boca Raton, Florida Atlantic's an inferior opponent. We all know that. And you should be able, and I heard this from Lindy and Fonnie back in the old days of the Jacksonville Bulls. Who are these Jacksonville Bulls? I'll never forget Keith Jackson coming on ABC with that. They were getting ready to play the New Jersey Generals. Who are these Jacksonville Bulls? Because they were packing the place for a USFL game. But Lindy and Fonnie told me this once. He goes, if you know you have better personnel, you should just run the ball. I mean, you throw it every once in a while, but you should be able to run it on them. So what you do for the first 2 games, you run it on them. You run it on USF, you run it on FAU in the first game, and then you come back in the third game against Alabama. Whoa, he's throwing it over the top. Oh, look how much Florida's throwing the ball in the first series. I mean, that game, the Alabama game, is being set up with the first 2 games. And I know I'm a big believer in that you always take every game seriously. You only have 12 Saturdays to play. But sometimes it's not a bad idea. If you remember, the funniest, the year that Florida went 11-2 under Will Muschamp, they played Toledo in the first game, and they win like 24-6. And the fans are, God, what is going on? Why did we get here? They just went 7-6, and now this guy can't even score on Toledo. And after the next game, which was Texas A&M with Johnny Manziel, and Florida had won, Will Muschamp went on a tirade. And for some reason, he looked at Robbie Andrew the entire time he was doing this. And I'm in the corner just kind of laughing. And he's like, we couldn't have won this game if we didn't do what we did in the last game. I think that's kind of true in this case. What Florida does in these first 2 games, because look, let's face it, Alabama in this first game ain't going to hold anything back. They got Miami. That's a losable game. I don't think they'll lose it. They're 18-point favorites, but it is a losable game. And I think for Florida in those first 2 games, you don't show too much but you establish things. You say, hey, you better watch out for DeMarcus Bowman. We're going to give it to him 22 times. And you throw over the top of him. We'll see how all that goes. You know what I was wondering the other day? Because, look, I'm over that rant that I had on Friday where I was talking about, I keep looking over here to Evan because I want to make sure he understands what my rant was on Friday. And on Friday, I went on a big rant about how I was at that point where I'm sick of talking about college football season and I'm ready for games and I don't know if I can take it anymore. And I got over it after a few days. I by Monday today, I'm ready to just talk college football, talk about games that are coming up. But again, we don't have much on that first week one. I don't call it week 0, week 1. I don't have a whole lot there in terms of games to watch. Nebraska and Illinois is obviously the first one, the big one. That's big. What were their records last year combined? I mean, it's got to be like 4-12, something like that. They weren't any good, but it's Power 5 teams playing, so I'll watch it. But what I'm wondering is why there aren't more week 1 games. You can call it week 0. We can't be friends if you call it week 0. But if you call it week 0, okay, if that's what you call it, why can't we have more games? I don't understand why we only have one game that's supposed to be the feature game. And, of course, Florida experienced that when they played Miami a couple of years ago. And again, last year, obviously, you didn't have any – there was no week 0. There was not even a week 1. There was a week 2 was the first game. But why don't we have more games? I mean, look, this is what I don't get about college football scheduling in a lot of ways. For one thing, you've got 2 weeks without the NFL, right? Take advantage of both of them. You want to take advantage of the first one and have all these great games, and then the NFL starts and they're the king and they take away a lot of your audience. But why not start it in truly week 0? Which would be even a week earlier. I mean, guys are back. They're practicing. They've been working out. I don't totally grasp why they don't do that. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon. And again, it's not like they're putting a marquee game into that week 1 slot. Nebraska, Illinois, and I think the second best game, I don't think there is a second best game. There isn't much there. Hawaii, UCLA. Okay. I think that's the one. Yeah, Hawaii, UCLA. That's literally not a road trip for Hawaii. That's an easy road trip for them. They're used to playing other games like going way away. But anyway, I mean, I just think it would be great if they played more week 1 games. And then you get to week 2 and you go, holy crap, look at what we got to watch this week. And I can't wait for that. I still am a little, my enthusiasm has been tempered a little bit about the first week when you really don't have a whole lot to watch. But I will watch the first kickoff. I promise you that. That's a rule that I made a long time ago. I always watch the first kickoff. So I did see this today, and you guys will get a kick out of this. Somebody put down, and this is, I think I may do this myself. Can I fly out to Vegas and do this? $4,000 on Texas A&M to win the national championship. Can that happen? Yes. Will it happen? I don't know. But I'm a big believer that Texas A&M is going to have a great team this year. Great defense. I know they lost a lot on their offensive line, but they got guys that can step right in. They're very Alabama-ish in that regard. They got the best tight end, I think, in the country. The quarterback is going to be a different kind of quarterback. But, I mean, Kellen Mond wasn't anything special. What the heck? Everybody acts like, oh, you can't lose Kellen Mond and be great. Yes, you can. It's no big deal, him leaving. But if you win that bet for $4,000, you make $160. I don't know if I'd have to do a podcast after that. So, look, it would take a miracle. There's no doubt about that for that to happen. But again, it comes back to you have to look at schedules. I mean, A&M has Alabama in College Station. That is going to be the biggest game ever played. And literally the biggest game at Texas A&M and Kyle Field ever played, because Alabama likely will come in there undefeated. Texas A&M almost certainly will come in there undefeated because they don't play anybody in the first 5 games. And it's like a winner take all. And I mean, that's another game that I just can't wait for. So that's what we have. We can talk. Continue to talk a lot of college football, as you know. This time of year, that's what we do. We talk college football. We're going to get on Wayne Hogan in just a minute from Florida Rising Star. And then a little bit later in the show, Josh Kendall from The Athletic, talk about his conversation that he had with Greg Sankey. And it was a good one. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about this whole conversation about this alliance. We had Matt Hayes on the radio Friday, and he was like, or Thursday, I guess it was, and he was like, and he agrees with me, this alliance, all it is basically is spite out of the other three. Look, there's only 3 other conferences. The Big 12 doesn't exist. Now, it eventually will literally not exist, but right now it doesn't exist. Nobody cares what happens over there. I'm curious, too, whether Florida fans or any fans in the SEC give a rat's behind about what Oklahoma and Texas do this year. Do you care? Like, you want one of those teams to win it. Like, I heard somebody the other day that was an Oklahoma, they were a Big 12 radio guy, and they were saying, man, the whole world is rooting for you, Iowa State. The whole world's rooting for you. We want you to knock those teams off. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. I'm good. I'm hoping Oklahoma wins. I'm not a big Texas guy, so. But anyway, I mean, does anybody care what they do? Do we claim that? The SEC claims it if Oklahoma wins the national championship. Another one for the SEC. Nah, you can't do that. But nice try. All right, we'll take a break. Hopefully we come back with our good friend Wayne Hogan from Florida Rising Stars. We'll talk about the great raffle they got going on. But right now we take a break. You're watching or listening to Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Shakow and Mercadante Studios at the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shakow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shakow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. This is Pat Dooley encouraging you to become a member of the Gainesville Quarterback Club, the oldest organization anywhere dedicated to Gator football. The club meets weekly during football season with an impressive list of speakers, including Bobby Stoops, Phil Fulmer, Steve Spurrier this year. Meetings are held at the Best Western Gateway Grand, and they have a special offer for you. The first 3 meetings you can attend for only $100. Believe me, this is a bargain. And trust me, you'll have a good time. Get off the bench. It's time to score for the Gators by joining the Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Tebow Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented by Titan MRI from the Shackle Mercandani Studios. It's a great pleasure to bring on my guest today, longtime friend, old friend, which means we're both old, Wayne Hogan from Florida Rising Stars Project. They've got a great raffle going on, but Wayne, don't tell any stories about me, and I won't tell any stories about you when we were kind of hanging out together.
Jules, I would never do that. I would never sell you down the river.
And you easily could.
That works two ways, my friend.
All right, before we get started, I know you and I talked on the radio the other day about Coach Bowden and losing him. It certainly is it's something I've still been thinking about a whole lot because, Steve Spurrier told me a great story about going to a Gator game and back in 1977 when Florida was playing FSU and Florida State beat the crap out of them. Florida was playing, by the way, Chris Collinsworth at safety, so that was probably not a good move. And Spurrier said, yeah, I can do this. I can coach. I might as well become a coach. So Bobby Bowden inadvertently created Steve Spurrier as a coach.
That's I'm not buying that so much. I will tell you this about the head ball coach. He and I remember each other. Of course, I was just a staffer over at FSU working with Bobby, and I had a number of encounters with Spurrier back in those days. He was obviously the head coach at Florida, and we just had, we were together. It's in certain settings. Press outings, press conferences,
Sure.
the preseason deal, and all that, and so we had our moments of conversation and back and forth a little bit back in those days, and so the head ball coach told me a couple of weeks ago, he and I have gotten to be sort of like kind of like friends now, all right? So we talk a good bit. So a couple of weeks ago, he was telling me, he said, he said, I like you a lot better now than I did back in the day when I was coaching and you were over there at FSU with Bobby. And I said, really? Why is that? And he says, because y'all are so lousy in football now. He said, the lousier FSU gets, the more I like you, Hogan.
That is perfect, Steve Spurrier. There's no question
I said,
about
well,
it.
you got a point there, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, you were around Coach Bowden a lot, and I made this comment the other day to a Gator club because we lost my dad in April, and, of course, losing Coach Bowden just recently. I know my dad and him are up there arguing about Darnell Dockett right now because my dad actually sent Bobby a letter about Darnell Dockett, and Bobby wrote him a 3-page letter back. I mean, that is the kind of guy he was, and it was very, very nice, very cordial. And he said, "Bob, let me explain where I'm coming from on this."
Yeah. Well, I've got so many stories. I tell you, I tell all the time about how, the guy was one of the few coaches ever, either before or after or since, that understood that the media could be your friend, that the media could actually be a benefit to your program. And he understood that early on. And as all of the, things began to happen over there at FSU in the late 70s into the 80s, the program was building slowly, one brick at a time. And, he was started to win significant numbers of games and significant big games. But the whole time, a part of I'm convinced this was his innate plan. And that was that he knew that unless he was able to get attention through the media on his program, that it wasn't ever going to make it fully to the top.
Right.
He realized that Tallahassee was a remote outpost, hard to get there. There's not a lot of people who are going to want to get on a plane and try to fly to Tallahassee. You're certainly not getting a car and drive there. He realized that, Florida State didn't have a big name then. The facilities weren't up to par. But he was able to do such a good job of befriending the media, understanding, what they needed to do their jobs. He said that a lot. He said, one of his great lines, you may remember this, Pat, was he said that every time he talked to a writer in those days, he almost felt like it was his obligation to give them a story.
Yeah.
Now who says that? I mean, what kind of a coach?
I don't hear that anymore. Yeah. I don't hear that anymore. Believe me, it's the obligation not to give you a story now.
That's right.
He even put up with Craig Barnes. So I mean,
you know what? And he did it for years and years. And Craig was right there. And Bobby would stop and turn around. There's Craig looking right in the face. But he just it was amazing. I just was so lucky to work with him in my line of work, being a PR guy, being a media guy, and being the person that had to be a liaison between the coach and the media. To have someone like that who never said no.
Right.
I was with him almost 20 years, Pat, and I'll bet you I could count on one hand the times that he looked at me and said, "No, I'm not doing that," or "No, we're not going to do that." Everything was, if you say we need to do it, we'll do it. Absolutely, we'll do it.
I'm sure, Wayne, that goes into why you got involved with Florida Rising Stars Project, because you're able to reach out to young people and make them give them a chance to do something in different aspects of it. It's not just the football part of it. I mean, it's public relations. It's all kinds of things that you guys are trying to give them a step ahead on. Yeah,
I got involved with it, Pat, because it's my life, because I've lived that life. I, too, was a high school athlete. I wasn't very good. But I was an athlete. I was a baseball player back in those days, and played on a really good high school team and was a starter. And I thought I was going to go on to not only get a college scholarship. I was like everybody else. Gosh, maybe I can do this for a living. And then the stark reality hits. By the time you finish your high school days, you realize you're not going to do that. But I was like most kids, Pat, like you probably were. We were just obsessed with sports. Sports was just where we wanted to be. And so, just because I wasn't going to play a sport on the field, I knew that I wanted to be involved. I knew I wanted to do something that would keep me involved. And so I did everything from being you may or may not know this, my very first job was a sports writer with the Tallahassee Democrat. Bill McGrotha hired me. So that was right out of high school. That was my very first job out of high school. And then I became a baseball play-by-play guy for a few years. Worked in sports information, media relations and sports. So all of those things were opened up to me as I began to get a little older and get into college and then beyond college. And, I've put in, 35, 40 years in the business, and I've had a hell of a life. I've had a great life. I would like for these young kids, even at this young age, even if they don't get it right now, they don't understand it, I would like for them to know that these opportunities are out there, that someday you're going to wake up and you're going to say, gosh, I guess I'm not going to get a scholarship, or I guess I'm not going to play in the major leagues or in the NFL, and be able to look back at what we were able to give them and say, hey, I remember that day those people from the Florida Rising Stars came in and they talked about all these opportunities in sports. So that's where I'm coming from on it. I think it would be really valuable for these kids, and I've got a passion for it. So that's why I'm involved.
Well, let's talk about the raffle you have coming up. I've already bought 2 tickets, so if you want to sneak in there and like pull that one of them out, that's fine with me. But because what the package you were offering, when you told me about it the other day, I was like, oh, I gotta go online and get on this, and it wasn't hard to do. You just got to go to Florida Rising Stars Project and go to the donate now. And click on there, and it's pretty easy. I did it. If I can do it, it's easy. But tell us about the HBC's package that you're giving away.
Well, it's cool. It's just about everything a Gator fan would want. It's a beautiful signed helmet. I told you guys the other day, I never thought I'd say an orange and blue helmet was beautiful, but it's that sparkling orange and blue, and it's got the head ball coach's signature. And also comes with a book in the package, and several other autographed items. One of the things we did recently, we threw in some tickets to the Gator homecoming game this year, which is against Vanderbilt, and also not only the tickets, but a 2-night hotel stay. And then that's not easy to come by either.
No, not at all.
So all in all, it's a really cool package. You can, if you click onto our, as you said, our website, FloridaRisingStars.com, it's easy just to go that route. And you'll see the picture of all the items and what they look like. And I'll tell you a quick story, Pat. We did one of these with Coach Bowden a few weeks back. Fortunately, we did that before he died. But we went through about a month of people, sitting in bids. It's $10, but you get one chance at winning for every $10.
Right.
So we had some people donate $100. They get 10 chances. It's like any other raffle. You could buy multiple tickets. So the guy that won this lived in Orlando. He's a big FSU fan. He's down in Orlando, and we shipped him the box of merchandise, the helmet and the whole thing, the book, the video. We Bowden put his video in there, so it all went to his house. And we told the guy, said, by the way, when you get this box, is there any way you could get your wife or whoever's there at your house to take some photos of you unpacking the box? Because we thought that would look pretty cool on our social media. And so not only did they get the photos, they did a little video. And the guy's pulling this stuff out, and he's like a kid at Christmas. He's got the biggest smile on his face. And he's holding up the helmet, and it was quite the success. Let me put it that way. So I'm figuring when you win this thing with Spurrier, we'll send a cameraman to your place as well.
That's okay. I'll be happy to do it. It's FloridaRisingStars.com. is the website if you want to get on there. Like I said, I've already bought 2 tickets. I may go on and buy 2 more after the show today. And it's always great to talk to you, Wayne. It's been a long time since you and I have been together somewhere, and I know that we need to do that again. But it's been a long time since I've been with anybody because of what we've been dealing with COVID. So
no kidding. Here, let's hope we're about to get through this. My goodness.
All right. Wayne, great talking to you, buddy. Thanks again.
Okay, Duels. I love you, buddy. You keep up the good work.
Buddy. See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Wayne Hogan joining us from FloridaRisingStars.com. And again, I think it's not only is it a great cause, it's totally a great cause, but if what you can win is incredible. When you can win a signed helmet from Coach Spurrier, signed book, you get 2 nights at a hotel, you can get 2 tickets to the Vanderbilt game. I jumped all over that when he talked about it on the radio with us, and so I got to figure out a way to win. The funny thing is, Glenn Greenspan used to be the SID at Florida State a long time ago, where he was a sports information guy, and then he went to the Masters. And the first year I covered the Masters, I win the lottery to play the Augusta. So Wayne, it's on you now. I am kidding, of course. I want this to all be legitimate and fair, and nobody to have an issue with it. All right, so we'll get Josh Kendall on here in just a minute. to talk about college football because we want to talk more college football. I think be a good time to do the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Weekend. You ready for that, Evan? Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Weekend. And it is Kit, boy, I didn't write her name down right. Lofferslew? Is that her name? It's something like that. Anyway, Kit, we'll just call her Kit from now on. Whatever her name, Lafersky, that's what it is. I didn't connect the K's there. Lafersky. All right, so she's a good example of what we're seeing in college sports where you have 6-year players because they had a redshirt year, and now because of COVID, they get an extra year. Well, she's taken advantage of it so far, has scored the only 2 goals for the Gators so far this year, one in their loss to USF, which is ranked 20th, and one in their win, or not win, but tie with Texas. And that it feels like a win because she scored with 86:50 going in the game, the match, on the pitch. I got some soccer terms for you. And that allowed Florida to tie Texas. Now, Texas is no great thing. Them coming into the SEC is not going to scare anybody. In fact, they lost to UCF Thursday, or they lost to UCF last week 4-0. Florida plays UCF Thursday. So, again, with Coach Amato over there at Florida, it's a rebuilding process, but it helps to have a senior like that, a grad, basically. I don't know if you call him a grad student, if you're graduated already and I guess she's getting her master's, but Kit Lafersky. I probably am totally pronouncing that name wrong. But she scored the only goal in Florida's 1-1 tie with Texas. So she is our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Weekend. So congratulations to her. We have a lot more things to get to. I think we'll go ahead and take a break right now, and we'll come back. If we don't get Josh Kendall, we got plenty of stuff to talk about. He may have – no, he's on Eastern time. He lives in Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah, well, we'll get – guys get busy. We all understand that. Appreciate Wayne Hogan for being on. We'll take a break. We'll come right back with more of Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shakow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shakow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Ribco to Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to Go. Come on down and enjoy it. This is Pat Dooley encouraging you to become a member of the Gainesville Quarterback Club, the oldest organization anywhere dedicated to Gator football. The club meets weekly during football season with an impressive list of speakers, including Bobby Stoops, Phil Fulmer, Steve Spurrier this year. Meetings are held at the Best Western Gateway Grand, and they have a special offer for you. The first 3 meetings you can attend for only $100. Believe me, this is a bargain, and trust me, you'll have a good time. Get off the bench, and it's time to score for the Gators by joining the Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome in to Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Shackhound Mercantile Studios at the Coach's Podcast Room of Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Of course, today is an open date. Mondays are open dates for the Gators. Yep, I mean, for Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. They're not open yet on Mondays, right? Close on Mondays. Yeah. So it's an open date. So we've got a lot of things to get to, and we will. And we appreciate all of our great sponsors, especially we just mentioned the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Weekend was Kit Lefersky. Kit needs to call me and tell me the correct pronunciation of her name so I don't screw it up again. But Lefersky sounds right? But that we should get a little like certificate when you win that you get. Yeah, I like that idea. Okay, we'll work on that. All right, it is time. I've got it. I'm not losing this. I told you I was going to tattoo it to my arm, and unless I forget this again, I'm not going to do that. Three Things is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. We appreciate Chris Hand up there at Hand Law in Jacksonville for sponsoring Three Things. Number one, NFL preseason games. We only have 3 now. Let's go to 2. I mean, the games are so boring. There was a quadruple header on Saturday, and I'm like, oh man, this is great. I'm going to spend Saturday doing nothing because I've been working so hard, got all these speeches lined up, all this stuff I'm doing. I'm going to spend Saturday doing nothing but sitting and watching pro football. It's going to be great. And like about 20 minutes in, I'm like, hey, Karen, what are you watching? You know, there's got to be something better. Look, there's parts of it that are interesting, but in the end of the day, I don't know how we put up with 4 preseason games all this time. And I call them exhibition games because it makes them mad. They don't like to call them exhibition games. But it goes back to the whole thing of, you know, I know that players are upset they're doing 17 regular season games, and coaches are trying to figure out how you kind of do what the NBA does, which is to have guys sit out some games because you don't want to get them hurt. You don't want to wear them down. But it's been a lot better with 3. I'll be fine with 2. And the sad thing is this weekend, you're going to probably see a lot of guys not playing. It is what it is. All right, number 2 on Hands Law, 3 Things. I mixed up my words there. Really sad story I read about, and I didn't know John Peacock. He was 32 years old, but he was the offensive line coach at Western Carolina, which is where Kerwin Bell is the head coach. And Kerwin hired him to be his offensive line coach. But he passed away from COVID, and he was about to get married I think it was next February. Just a really sad story. I wanted to mention him because send your prayers out to his fiance and everybody in that family. It's just sad. I mean, we keep having these issues, and it is what it is in those terms. But John Peacock, 32 years old, dead from COVID, and he got diagnosed, and 4 days later he died. That's just really, really a sad story. So I will try to go back to a more upbeat story, although it's not that upbeat. But because there was golf today on the Golf Channel, because the first round of the FedEx playoffs was postponed because of the hurricane that came through, but still they were able to play it. In fact, I was watching a little bit, but there was some problem with the cameras and everything was like going off. I'm sure that's explainable. They just had a hurricane go through there, and people died in that hurricane. But I will say this: in normal circumstances, more golf on Monday. I think the PGA Tour is missing the boat on this. I'm not saying you want every tournament to end on Monday. Certainly the majors you don't want to end on Monday. But I like Monday golf. And that's because I'm a stay-at-home worker. And that's what I do. I work out of my house. Flip on the TV. Hey, look at that. John Rahm's got the lead now. More golf on Monday. It's my suggestion to the tour. I know you want to be on Sundays, and let's face it, in the coming weeks, nobody's going to be watching golf anyway. And even when you get to the finals of the FedEx Cup, there'll be NFL games on. More golf on Mondays because you can play it during the game. Monday Night Football doesn't get in your way. But even during the summer, I just think it'd be – one of the great things that happened this is the wrong way to put that. One thing that happened during COVID, when we were all dealing with being at home, were all those NBA playoff games that were played during the day. It was the greatest thing in the world. You could only binge watch, Dexter and you could only watch Tiger King so many times. Eventually, it's nice to have live sports. It's just a suggestion I have for the PGA Tour. I'm sure they'll take it seriously. All right, it is time for us to do the Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Boy, you guys pooped the bed last week with the Bucks game because I'm sure everybody pretty much picked the Bucks. I think one or two people picked them to lose, and then they decided, we're not going to show up for this game, and they got destroyed. And so not many qualifiers. So we've only got a handful of qualifiers for the next drawing for the Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Thanks to Kyle over there. And you got to get this one in quick. I'm not giving you much time. I may not even have time to post it because I got to go do radio after this. Jacksonville at New Orleans. Very simple game. Who do you pick in that game? And the trouble is, and this is the problem with exhibition games, is you're sitting there and you're looking at it and you go, who's playing at quarterback? I'm not sure. The word is, I guess Jameis Winston's going to be the starter. Do you look at that as a positive or a negative? You might think you're rolling. You might pick New Orleans and think you're rolling, and then all of a sudden he throws like 2 pick sixes in a row because he's got a tendency to do that. I don't know who I'd pick. I'm leaving it up to you. Jacksonville at New Orleans, and that will allow you to get into if you qualify, if you pick again, he's got to pick the winning team, and that qualifies you for the Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks, which I know that Charlie Cowan got his package Thursday, was very happy with all the great stuff he got, including a Leonardo's at Millhopper $25 gift certificate. So he'll be using that very soon. So excited about that. All right. We still have 2 things to do. 2 of my favorites. The Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack and this, that, and the other. What do you want to go for first? You want to go ahead and do All right. We're going to go for the Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack. And this is kind of weird, I know, for me to do this. But I picked 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, my top 12. These are my top 12. And again, we're going with 12 because that's what the playoffs are supposed to look like eventually. So it's kind of interesting to see who ends up being in the top 12. However, there's been a lot of talk lately about this new alliance. It's a rebel alliance, I guess, and the SEC is Darth Vader, but and the one thing they're talking about with this alliance of college football is, hey, maybe we won't, go to this 12-team playoff so fast. Okay. So I picked, but there's all other things that have happened in the last couple of weeks where I've had to really think about who I was picking. The first one was kind of seat of the pants. This one is more, I've done a little more research, talked about it. It's not changed drastically, but it has changed. So let's go with it. I still have Oklahoma as number one. I think Oklahoma is going to be great on defense. They got Spencer Rattler. They got great. And again, in that conference, shouldn't be a problem. I think they'll be the 1 seed going into the playoffs. I have moved Clemson up to number 2. And a lot of it was because the more I thought about it, as you can see after thinking it over, the more I thought about it, they've got 1 game to play. If they beat Georgia, that's it. They're 12-0. There's nobody else on their schedule. It's unbelievably easy. For number 3, I've got Texas A&M, which I had at number 2. I think Texas A&M is going to be good. There has been a little bit of movement in my brain, which is always scary, about how maybe that offensive line, the guys they've lost, and I listened to Billy Lucci, which we should get him on the show in the next couple of weeks, from TexAg.com, talking about how they still are looking for a breakthrough receiver. I think they'll be fine at quarterback. I think they'll be totally fine, but I'm still a bit concerned about that. Number 4, Ohio State. They named their quarterback. He's very young, C.J. Stroud. I think but again, look who they're going to play. I like their opportunity. It's going to be an interesting game. I think it's a Thursday night game next week at Minnesota, which they're huge favorites. Well, like 13-point favorites. Number 5, Alabama. And again, I think Alabama takes a tiny step back this year. I think we're at the point where they've lost too much. But and number 6, Georgia. I don't even know if that's possible for Alabama to finish, for the SEC to have 3 teams in the top. But that's what the SEC is. 7, Iowa State. 8, North Carolina. 9, Cincinnati. 10, Oregon. And I'm kind of having second thoughts about Oregon, but 11, LSU. And then 12, Florida. And Florida's barely sneaking in there. I've lost a little bit of confidence in that Florida team. And it's just really just because of things I've been told that are going on there. Nothing negative. I mean, it's just the offensive line, they've got to prove it to me. And the other thing is, the quarterback situation seems to be still a mystery. And the third thing is the secondary is still a big issue. They don't know who's going to play safety. It looks like Avery Helm may be the one corner. It could be Jason Marshall. Safety's a big concern. We'll see. Alex Wesley Construction, love where you live is the motto of Alex Wesley Construction, and I appreciate them being a sponsor. And we'll be doing the 12-pack every week. We'll give you our top 12, and believe me, it's going to change drastically in that first week. Although I didn't have Miami, but see, think about that. If Miami somehow beats Alabama, that's not happening. But some people believe it will. That could be a total change in everything. If the Georgia-Clemson winner, one's going to go way down, one goes way up. So it'll be, and we appreciate Alex Wesley Construction for the 12-pack. Alex Wesley Construction, love where you live. And I love where I live. It's in Gainesville, by the way, but I love where I live, and they did a lot of work on my house. So I'm saying this not only as a hair company sponsor, but a hair company. What is it? Is it hair where the guy gets I am a customer as well. No, I'm a customer of Alex Wesley Construction. I keep throwing all these questions at Evan. He's like looking at me like, what are you talking about? All right. Finally today, and Josh mistimed things today, and it's okay. We'll get him on Friday, okay, to talk about college football, and that's fine. We had with Wayne Hogan on today. We're fine, and we have all of our great sponsors to continue to promote, including our Shackle Mercandone Studios and everybody else, and of course Titan MRI, the presenter of our podcast, and Hand Law, 3 things. Always have fun with that. We're going to our final thing today, and that is This, That, and the Other, my favorite segment on the show. It's sponsored, of course, by Ballyhoo Grill and by Shakow Insurance and Ironwood Golf Course, where, boy, it's so funny. I was talking to a couple of my neighbors today, and they were saying, man, we're kind of hoping it rains. I'm like, to cool things off. And I'm like, well, that's the thing. In July, all we kept saying was, I just have to keep raining. Come on, man. The golf courses are getting all soggy. Nobody can play them. Now we're all like, that's enough dry. Let's go ahead and get some rain, cool things off. It has been Africa hot out there. It's been unbelievable the last few days. Today we got a few sprinkles, and so far that's all we've gotten. But anyway, this, that, and the other, presented by Ballyhoo Grill, Shakow Insurance, and Ironwood Golf Course. To this, the Braves got off to kind of a rocky start this year. Obviously missing their best pitcher, Soroka, and then he re-tears his Achilles, and I'm like, man, I was so into it last year. Now, again, last year, and I'm not a huge baseball guy, but I love the Braves. The Braves are the one team until I quit working for the newspaper, and I can call the Gators we, although I still haven't been able to do that. I still can't say, we think we're going to beat Alabama. No, I'm not there yet. The one team I've always called we are the Atlanta Braves. I love them. I live and die with them, right? Yeah, but, I'm quickly off that bandwagon. Jeremy Foley used to tell me, I hope none of those fans sprain their ankles jumping off the bandwagon. But when they get off to that rocky start, I'm like, oh, boy, this isn't. But I kept telling myself, Pat, it's not a 60-game season this year. It's 162. They'll be all right. It'll take time. That is that then Ronald Acuna got hurt. And I went, it's over. It's done. This team can't play anymore. They got the guys that are out there. The pitching has been hurt. Then they had a bunch of other injuries, but the Acuna injury just broke my heart. I mean, you're talking about maybe one of the best players in baseball. And the other is the Braves now lead the East by 5 games because bandwagon Pat jumped back on the bandwagon. I had to kind of get a help to get up on it, somebody lifted me up. But now all of a sudden I'm like, last night, I'm watching like we used to do this when we were kids, Robbie, Andrew, and I, and this is how antiquated our technology was. When we were kids, there would be one channel in St. Augustine that was called Reuters News, and all it would do was flash up inning by inning of the games, each game that was being played, and we would always wait. We would sit there and watch it for hours waiting for our team to show up. Robbie is a Twins fan, I'm a Braves fan, and I would wait and they go, oh, the Braves didn't score that inning. Now that's where I am with trying to find out what the Braves did. I'm watching it on the phone pitch by pitch. I can't help myself. Now I'm back being a Braves fan, and I'll be the guy that complains when they get beat by the Dodgers, because we all know at the end of the year the Dodgers are going to win it all. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just the way it's going to be. But the other is definitely me being back on the bandwagon. And look, you want to be critical of me for doing that, for being off and on the bandwagon? You're absolutely right. It's just the way I am. It's like when the Gators get down 10-2 in a basketball game, I go, I'm leaving the house. Game's over. And then they come back and win. I'm just not I'm not a good fan, is the way I would put it. All right, but that is going to do it for our show today. Appreciate everybody for watching. If you watched it live, obviously on the from the Shakow Merchandise Studios at the Coach's Podcast Room of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and I think we cover it all. We got it all done. Appreciate Wayne Hogan for being on. We'll get Josh Kendall on Friday. And then next Friday will be Robbie Andrew, because next Friday is the opening of the season. I want to have Robbie on for that Friday as well. Until next time, thanks to Evan for doing a wonderful job producing. As always, I am Pat Dooley saying I'm deep way back, and I am out of here.